Alright, in this video we're going to take a look at masking and blending. The appearance settings are available for basically every component, and they affect the way that the layers interact when they're stacking, when they're nesting, and you can create some really interesting effects. So there's no one place to start here. We're going to play around, I'm going to show you how it works, and let's see what we end up creating. To begin, I've got a solid color in the background. I've just added a near black color, dark kind of blue. And that'll be our background plate for this. I'm going to go ahead and just add in a texture of some sort. I'm not sure off the top of my head what we want. Maybe we'll do strands. Strands is a nice one, creates this sort of flowing ribbon look. I may not even play with the settings of, other than just maybe moving the positions around. Maybe just increasing the color scale a little bit. Maybe we'll pick some new colors. Let's see what we like the look of. There you go, like a pink and white thing. Maybe spreading the colors out a little bit of softness, a little bit of width, and maybe even some more strands. There you go. That gives us a good starting point for us to work when we're talking about, let's do blending first, right? So blending allows you to take two layers and blend them together in a way that's not just stacking one layer on top of the other. To do this, I'm going to just use two strands as an example. I'm going to duplicate the existing strands component by I hit Control D on the keyboard or Command D. And I'm going to go ahead and just move these to different angles. So now they're intersecting, right? They're like an X on the screen. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here to the top layer, which has this appearance section. They all have the appearance section, but I want the top layer, and I'm going to look at blend mode. Now there's a bunch of different options. By normal, it's just stacking them. There's different normals, so if your texture layer has some transparency, you can blend with different color space modes. In this case, I might just try browsing through them. So multiply is going to make it darker. Screens just kind of look the same, screen on top. Linear dodge will blow out some of the highlights where they meet, which doesn't do too much in the linear tone mapping mode, but might look different in ACES Filmic. No, maybe not. Okay, we'll keep it in that color mode anyway. Now let's look at maybe difference. Difference is where you can actually tell the difference. Here we actually can see where things are overlapping, and that's not a bad effect. I know it's weird. It's not something I would necessarily want for a hero section, but you get the point of how these two layers are intersecting. Where they intersect, the pixels are now operating in a different blend mode. So that is how you apply blend modes. You apply it to the top layer, and it affects everything below it. It's blending with the layer below it. Maybe we just try exclusion, or we could do luminosity. We're just trying a few different things to see what looks right. Maybe hard light. We'll stick with the difference because it has that kind of weird, almost iridescent effect going on in the middle. Now let's talk about masking. So masking is one of those power features. You're going to use it a lot when you're adding content on top of the shader. For example, you might have a busy shader. You might have something like this, where you want the content to sit on top of the shader. Maybe you want some text on the left-hand side. You want a whole body paragraph, and you don't really want the noise of the shader to be distracting from that content. Well, masking can be very useful in that case, and other cases, but that's a good example. Let me go ahead and use a basic shape for that. Now there's tons of shapes, but an obvious one that comes to mind is just a circle. I could take a circle component, I could increase its softness and just make it very large, right? Here's a circle. And maybe I want to say, we're going to add some content up top. Let's add some text on the left-hand side of this. I'll actually adjust this a little bit. Let me turn off the circle for a second. I will adjust this so our strands intersect a little bit more to the right-hand side, just for the sake of the visual. Let's grab these strands. I'm just going to move that so I can grab it, put it back. Cool, so now we've got strands on the right-hand side and we have our circle on the left. What I'm going to do, and I could do this, right? I could say, I'm going to make my circle a dark color, and suddenly we've, created a mask. But that's not really masking, is it? It's just sort of hiding what's there. Really what we want to do is we want to cut it out. We want to make that transparent. So to do that, I'm going to turn the circle off. I'm going to go into the layer or layers that I want to mask. In this case, I've got two layers that I want to mask, two strands that are interacting with each other. So I'm going to hold Shift just to select them both, right? Or you could hit Control or Command to select multiple layers. I'm going to right-click Group. Now I have a group of two layers, which is our strands, which is I'm just going to call it our strand effect. And in this group, I'm going to come down to Appearance, mask source. I'm going to set it to be the circle. And then we're going to use the circle alpha inverted, right? So we want to show the content where the circle isn't in this case. Just like that, we've masked. It looks almost identical to what we had before, but if I turn off our background, you'll notice we actually have transparency here. We're masking out the strand's content. So that's one example. I mean, we could do much clearer examples just for the sake of this. Let me go to a color wheel effect, boost up everything. So we have a very obvious moving color wheel. If I wanted to drop in, let's say, a blob effect, I could decrease its softness, give it a good size, increase its deformation and speed, and then I could literally just turn that off, go to color wheel, mask source blob, set it to alpha, and there you go. Our color wheel effect is contained within the alpha of the blob. Now, we don't have to use alpha. As you may have noticed, we have other channel options. Let me go ahead and just add maybe a chevron texture to the screen. I can reduce the count, reduce the angle, or change the angle, maybe increase the softness a little bit, and give it some speed so it's moving in a direction. This is going to look kind of trippy. I'm going to turn that off. I'm going to go into color wheel, and I'm going to set our mask source to be chevron. And all of a sudden, it's going to break. And that's okay, because the chevron doesn't have any transparency. So it doesn't have any alpha for it to base the mask on. So I'm going to change the mask channel from alpha to luminance. And now our rainbow effect, our color wheel effect, is being applied within the white sections of that chevron effect. And it's fading out to transparent where that chevron was darker. That's it. That's as easy as masking is. And that's the power of shaders. It's not one particular component, it's not one particular layer. It's the ability to compose them, to nest them, and then to blend them together and to mask them between themselves to become more than the sum of its parts. So this isn't obviously an effect I would likely ship unless I was, doing something for a 70s themed website for some reason. But you get the point. We've just created two effects that show how you can do masking and blending, and you can get really creative to create your own shader effects from this. So in the next video, we're going to take a look at dynamic props. It's where you take this one step further and you're using one effect to drive the prop of another effect. Let's check that out.